Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being a viewer. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. I want you to know that you are greatly appreciated, and this is a very important video because I'm going to talk to you about the cost of the $2,000 stimulus check, how much it actually costs. I'm going to talk to you about what the House Democrats are likely to do today. By the time you watch this video, I believe the House will already have passed a $2,000 stimulus check by the time you see this. And also, towards the end of the video, I'll talk about something that is extremely serious that was just pointed out by President-elect Joe Biden, and that has not received widespread coverage because everyone's talking about stimulus, everyone's talking about unemployment benefits, and those are important matters, but there is a serious threat to the country that I think we should all be aware about as responsible citizens. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. This is some information about me. If you don't know anything about me, this channel, the Ignition Time channel, is about the country, it's about the economy, and it is about your money. For me, it really doesn't matter whether you're pro-Trump or anti-Trump, whether you're pro-Biden or anti-Biden. For me, it's not about the red or the blue, it's about the red, white, and blue. I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, I'm American. We are all Americans first. Now, here's a tweet on your screen from Jake Sherman over at Politico, and Jake reports that the House is going to be back today. The $2,000 check is up for a vote. If they get 2/3 present and 2/3 voting, it'll immediately move to the Senate, and there's a veto override also up. So basically that, if they get 2/3 majority, it'll go straight to the Senate. And if the Senate passes it, we know the president is going to sign it. Now, what happens if the House does not get a 2/3 majority? They'll bring up the $2,000 stimulus check for a regular majority vote if it fails a 2/3 threshold. The bottom line is the Democrats, by the time you watch this video, will have passed the $2,000 stimulus check bill, and it'll go to the Senate, and we'll have to wait and see what happens indeed on the floor of the Senate. That is anybody's guess. Now, here's another tweet on your screen. This is extremely interesting. This is a tweet from Eric Wasson, and Eric Wasson reports on Congress for Bloomberg News, and he reported that increasing the stimulus checks to $2,000 from $600, instead of the $164 billion, they will set aside $464 billion, according to the official scorekeeper of Congress. And the original $600 payment cost $164 billion, and the original COVID package, which by the way was at $900 billion, and the original COVID package along with the government funding was at $2.3 trillion. So think about this for a second. $2.3 trillion cost of the entire bill, $900 billion, which is going to be the money that was for all the stimulus relief, and then increasing the checks from $600, which by the way is already done, that's already law, which would have cost $164 billion. It will cost $464 billion extra to get us to the $2,000 stimulus check. So you'll see this tweet on your screen from Eric Wasson. If you actually click on that link from the tweet, and by the way, we'll provide you with the tweet and all our resources in the description section below. If you click on the link, you'll end up at this page, which is the Joint Committee on Taxation, Congress of the United States, and this is the estimated revenue effect of the $2,000 stimulus check bill and the Caring for Americans with Supplemental Help Cash Act of 2020. Interesting name. The Caring for Americans with Supplemental Cash, that's the abbreviation CASH, Caring for Americans with Supplemental Help. It's called the Cash Act of 2020. Man, these guys come up with all these names. There was a CARES Act. Now the $2,000 stimulus check is called the Cash Act, scheduled for consideration by the House of Representatives today. Okay, so if you click on that download now button, you'll actually come to this PDF. Let's just zoom in on it and show you. Increased 2020 recovery rebates replace the $600 recovery rebate in the Consolidated Appropriations Act, with $2,000 for singles, $4,000 for married filing jointly. Expand recipients to include dependents in addition to qualifying children, both for purposes of this proposed $2,000 amount and for the purposes of the initial $500 recovery rebate in the CARES Act. And let's look at the name of this bill at the top. It says the Caring for Americans with Supplemental Help Cash Act of 2020. Again, by the time you watch this video, the House will have voted on it and will have passed it. This is going to make its way to the Senate. By the way, this is what the president has signed. $164 billion was set aside to account for $600 stimulus checks. Now, instead of the $164 billion, they will set aside this entire amount. And by the way, you see that amount on your screen on the PDF. Let's look at the right side of the PDF. You'll see it's $463 billion. It's actually almost $464 billion. So instead of the earlier amount of the $160 billion, it's going to be $464 billion, which means instead of $600 stimulus checks, we're talking about $2,000 stimulus check. So that is very interesting when you look at the big picture. The big picture is a $2.3 trillion stimulus package. Super interesting there when you think about it. So what does all this have to do with the president's decision to delay the signing of the bill? What do Republicans think? Do Republicans want to support the $2,000 stimulus check? We haven't heard anything regarding the $2,000 stimulus check from the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. There he is. Hello, Senate Majority Leader. But Republicans have said that they want to cut back on debt to finance this additional spending, including the $2,000 stimulus checks. Sounds easier said than done. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what happens. But let's roll this clip from Fox and see what different Republicans and other individuals had to say about this philosophical, about this essential notion, if you will, from the Republicans that we need to be very, very careful. And I want our viewers and subscribers to decide whether you agree or not, but let's roll the tape and see what other lawmakers had to say.
House Republicans argue if you're going to spend more, there should be some cuts made, too.
Unfortunately, we have a lot of debt junkies in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill, both in the House and in the Senate. So I would imagine that anything that spends more money, these folks are going to pass. That's just the nature of the beast here on Capitol Hill.
If the House passes the stimulus measure late today, its fate in the United States Senate, led by Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, is not clear. Some supporters worry it could hit a dead end there.
Will the Grim Reaper, Mitch McConnell, allow his colleagues in the Senate to vote their conscience, to vote their constituents' needs, or are they going to stay with an ideological absolutism that is singularly unhelpful?
After authorizing about $2.3 trillion in spending between government funding and COVID relief, there are no signs Senate Republican leadership will want to spend more now. Eric?
Now, as you can imagine, Democrats are in favor of the $2,000 stimulus checks. Let's hear from John Garamendi, who's a California congressman. And in the first segment, we'll take a look at two segments. In the first segment, he says that Republicans have supported trillions in tax cuts for the wealthy. And he said it's all going to come down to Georgia. In fact, he said that it's likely that what the president has been doing could actually boomerang in Georgia. Let's roll the tape and listen to John Garamendi, California congressman, who's a Democrat.
All right, Mike, thanks so much. Joining us now, Congressman John Garamendi. He's chairman of the House Armed Services Subcommittee on Readiness, and he helped negotiate the defense spending bill. Congressman, welcome. Let's start with the $2,000 checks. Do you think folks will actually end up getting them?
They certainly should. They certainly need it. All across this nation, people are unemployed, people are hurting, they're doing half-time jobs or no jobs at all. They really need that money, and it is not for the wealthy. This will be for individuals of $75,000 or less. So, yes, we absolutely need to do that. This talk about suddenly the deficit hawks seem to have returned. Well, they certainly were not there back in 2017 when the Republicans supported a $1.5 trillion tax cut, almost all of which, 80%, went to the super wealthy and big corporations.
Well, you know, needing to get the checks out and actually having them in the mail are two different things. What happens when it's DOA in the Senate? Will this boomerang on the Republicans, as you suggest?
Well, I think it's going to boomerang right back to a place called Georgia. There is an election coming up there in a few days, and the folks in Georgia will understand who was with them and who was not.
Well, they can, Ms. Loeffler and Senator Perdue can argue perhaps that the president was on their side when he goes down there for a rally next Monday night.
Well, we're going to see how they vote, because this bill is going to pass out of the House of Representatives today. There will be a strong majority, almost the entire Democratic delegation will vote to increase from $600 to $2,000 support for individuals across this nation. That's what families need. We will do that. We'll see what happens in the Senate.
You mentioned the deficit concerns that the Republicans did not 3 years ago, but there are others who are concerned that the deficit and the spending is just ballooned, especially because of coronavirus, way out of proportion, and there has to be some way to curb this, and this is, they say, one way to do that.
Yeah. Well, we ought to listen to Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve. He's been very, very strong for the last 9 months, saying over and over again, we need a very strong rescue of the American economy, a rescue that would stifle the virus, that would give us the kind of support we need for testing, tracing, and now vaccinations, as well as for the hospitals, local governments, and for small businesses and unemployment insurance. Those are his words. He said we need more, certainly more than the $900 billion, which is a pile of money, no doubt about it. But also it is for a limited period of time. It will not extend into the full time in which it will take this nation to get this virus under control, which will probably be summer, midsummer at the earliest. So we need an extension, and Biden has been very, very clear that the legislation, which Trump thankfully finally signed yesterday, is a down payment, but it is not sufficient money to get through the age of COVID.
In the second segment, Garamendi actually speculated on what the president's intentions were, what the president was up to. And, again, the president put everybody through a lot of stress. Let's see if that does indeed result in a $2,000 stimulus check. Kind of too soon to tell. But again, like I mentioned before, if $2,000 stimulus checks don't happen and if Republicans lose control of the Senate, then this will end up being a backfire. Garamendi said that the president probably wanted leverage for a short period of time. And he said towards the end of this segment, this is quite important. I haven't really discussed this extensively on our channel because it's a very complex subject. But he said that National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, and Section 230 were used by the president to hold stimulus relief hostage. This is a very complex subject because at the end of the day, you don't want these tech companies to essentially censure conservative ideas. Again, this is a very complex subject and I haven't really discussed it in detail on our channel. But let's take a look at what Garamendi had to say and let's roll the tape.
You just mentioned the president finally signing that last night after delaying it. What do you think about that? And what do you think about a possible override of his veto of the defense spending bill?
Well, he seems to be more than willing to defund the military. I don't think that is in anybody's interest, certainly not in our national security interest. I don't know why he did it. Maybe he wanted to gain some momentary leverage to get something else. He came out with his tweet yesterday saying he was going to do a whole bunch of red lines, all of which were in his budget that he asked Congress to pass, which we did. And he wants this Section 230, which so that he can sue Google and Facebook because they're saying bad things about him or allowing people to say bad things about him. Those are issues that will be taken up in the new Congress. But to hold the Defense Authorization Act and earlier on holding the support that Americans need simply to survive the COVID crisis as a hostage, that's just not good.
Well, some have a lot more complaints against big tech than that in terms of censorship of conservative ideas and else, but we'll leave that for now as we await this House vote.
That's another day of discussion.
That is Congressman John Garamendi. Good to see you, sir. Tom Bevan is here.
And I did mention at the start of this video that I would talk about other things that were important to the country. And President-elect Biden, who spoke today, said something extremely important. In fact, he said several things that were extremely important. But the first thing that jumped out at me, and we all know what happened in Nashville, he said Nashville was a reminder of the destructive power of an individual or a group. And he's absolutely right. We need to be on our toes. We need to be vigilant. Let's roll the tape and hear what President-elect Biden had to say.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I begin, I want to say a few brief words about the explosion that took place Friday in Nashville, Tennessee. Federal, state, and local law enforcement working around the clock to gain more information on motive and intent. This bombing was a reminder of the destructive power that an individual or a small group can muster and the need for continuing vigilance across the board. I want to thank the police department in Nashville, particularly those 5 police officers who worked so quickly to evacuate the area before the explosion occurred, risking their own lives. And for all the firefighters and first responders who jumped into action early on that last Christmas morning. Their bravery and cool-headedness likely saved lives and prevented a worse outcome, and we are eternally grateful to that law enforcement agency. And I know the hearts of all Americans or the people of Nashville as they rebuild and recover from this traumatic event.
And finally, another comment from President-elect Biden that I wanted to highlight, because honestly, it's something that we should all be careful about. We should be concerned about. The stock market is at all-time highs right now. A lot of stocks are going up, and we are in a general state of euphoria. But I think we should be careful. I think that when everybody is euphoric, it's time to be a little bit cautious. I've actually liquidated many of my positions, not because I'm trying to time the market, but because I don't like it when there's a general sense of euphoria. That's my way of investing. Generally when individuals are nervous, that's when the market goes down and you get the best deals. But when everybody's euphoric and everything is sky high, that's the time when I, as an investor, and many value investors tend to step back and say, wait a minute, valuations are not consistent with reality. Let's hear what President-elect Biden had to say. He actually said that the new administration was running into obstruction from the political leadership at the outgoing Trump Defense Department. Astonishing claim from the president-elect. Let's roll the tape and hear what he had to say.
They have done an outstanding job. For some agencies, our teams received exemplary cooperation from the career staff in those agencies. From others, most notably the Department of Defense, we encountered obstruction from the political leadership of that department. And the truth is, many of the agencies that are critical to our security have incurred enormous damage. Many of them have been hollowed out in personnel, capacity, and in morale.
That's it, everybody. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Incredible comments from President-elect Biden, comments from the California Congressman Garamendi, and also what is likely to happen going forward, and also the cost of the $2,000 stimulus check. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. You'll get a link to all of our resources in the description section below. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. I really appreciate you watching. If you don't know anything about me, please check out my video right here. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. This channel, the Ignition Time channel, is about the country, it's about the economy, and it's about your money. Now keep in mind, I do not have a crystal ball. You see that? I do not have a crystal ball, so I can't make predictions about the future, but I can tell you how to plan for the future. I can tell you how to understand things that are happening in the country, things that indeed affect the economy, and by extension, things that affect your money. We release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. That's 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. If you want to get on our text message alerts mailing list, simply get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time, and send that to 70,000. That's 70000. You'll get added to SMS alerts list. You'll receive important news, important alerts about information that has the potential to impact your money. You'll also get information about any programs that we might release going forward. Now, if you want, you can also get added to our email list. Simply go to ignitiontime.com/alerts. That's ignitiontime.com/alerts, and you'll get added to our email list. You can opt out of the SMS list or the email list at any point in time that you want. Also, remember that sometimes YouTube does not send out notifications on time. So simply within your browser, simply bookmark youtube.com/ignition time. That's youtube.com/ignition time. Bookmark that on your browser and simply come back to our homepage and watch our videos at any point in time that you want. You can also follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is ignition_time. You'll get exclusive news and content on Instagram. Also, I recommend that you follow us on Twitter. You'll get exclusive information, breaking news and alerts on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is also ignition_time. That's ignition_time. So please make sure to follow us on Twitter as well. One of the things that I'm extremely proud about is our growing community. We are intelligent, the community is respectful, the community is bipartisan, the community is growing rapidly. So comment below and become a part of our growing community. You will be like a member of our family, and you might even make some new friends in our community. So come back to the Ignition Time channel, engage in the comment section below with other members of our community. Also, if you found this video helpful, please just share it with just 2 friends or family members. All I ask is you share the video with 2 friends or family members. You'll always find a link to all of our resources in the description section below. So make sure you check out our description section in case you want to dig deeper into the content that we release. Finally, please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. That would be greatly appreciated. Gently ignite the like button, gently ignite that notification button, but do it gently. I don't want you to, oh no. I don't want you to crack your screen. That's not going to be fun. Please click the like button. That tells the YouTube algorithm that you found this content useful. I really appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.